Hello everyone, I'm Big Cat. In this lesson, we're going to create animations of character with guns in their hands. Enter BS underline in the resource search field. Drag into the Reef Stand blank space. Double click. Set direction and speed. Connecting the normal stand to Reef Stand. Double click. To go from unarmed to armed, you need to determine the armed status to be true. Compile. Back to the state machine. Set the gun status to true. You can see that the character is on gun standby. Connecting the reef stand to normal stand. Double click. From armed to unarmed, you need to determine the armed status as false. Compile. Back to the state machine. Set the gun status to true. Set the gun status to false. You can see the character has gone to unarmed standby. Next, we'll create standing to crouching position. Drag into reef crouch. Connecting reef stand to reef crouch. Double click. From reef stand to reef crouch, you need to determine the crouch status as true. Back to the state machine. Compile. Set the gun status to true. Set crouch to true. You can see the animation is now crouching with a gun. Connect reef crouch to reef stand. Double-click to enter rule edit. From crouching to standing, you need to determine when the crouching is false. Back to the state machine. Compile. Set the gun status to true. Set crouch to true. Set crouching to false. You can see the character has changed to a standing position with a gun. Next, we are going to go from a standing position to a prone position. Drag into reef stand to prone. Remove the AS. Connecting reef stand to transition animations. Double-click. From standing to transition animation, determine when prone is true. Drag into reef prone. Set direction and speed values. Connecting transition animations to reef prone. Double-click. Execute when 0.3 seconds remaining in the animation. Compile. Set the gun status to true. Set the prone status to true. In the preview window and the state machine interface, you can see that the character first executes the transition animation from standing to the prone position, and then executes the blank space from the prone position after the transition animation is finished. Drag into Rev Prone to stand. Remove the AS. Connecting the pawn to the transition animation. Double-click. From standing to transition animation, we need to determine when the pawn position is false. Connecting transition animations to standing. Double-click. Execute when 0.3 seconds remaining in the animation. Compile. Set hold gun status to true. Set the pawn to true. Set the pawn to false. You can see the character animation go from pawn with a gun to standing up with a gun. Next, we'll create a crouch to a pawn. Search transition animations. Drag into Rev Crouch to pawn. Remove the AS. Connecting Rev Crouch to transition animation. Double-click. From crouch to transition animation, you need to determine when the pawn is true. Connecting transition animation to Rev Pawn. Double-click. Execute when 0.3 seconds remaining in the animation. Back to the state machine interface. Compile. Set the hold gun status to true. Set the crouch status to true. Set the pawn status to true. You can see that the character first executes the transition animation from a crouch to pawn, and then executes the pawn blank space after the transition animation is finished. Drag into Rev Pawn to crouch. Remove the AS. Connecting the pawn to the transition animation. Double-click. From standing to transition animation, we need to determine when the pawn is false. Since we are using the same blank space as standing to pawn, we need to determine that we are currently crouching. Likewise, the transition from a pawn blank space to a stand animation needs to be determined not to be crouched. Connect the transition animation to Riff Crouch. Double-click. Execute the rule when there are 0.3 seconds left in the animation. Compile. Set hold gun to true. Set crouch to true. Set prone to true. Set prone to false. You can see how the character animations from hold gun prone to hold gun crouch. Right-click, select Add Comment. In this lesson, we have animated the character in the hold gun related state. That's it for this lesson. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next lesson.